Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another captivating episode of the Global Citizen Diaries. I'm your host, Om, and today we have an extraordinary guest joining us, none other than Riley. Riley's journey from America to Germany for his studies is not only inspiring, but also brimming with cultural insights and experiences. Without further ado, let's delve into this remarkable story. With passports in hand and dreams in your eyes, here we go. First of all, thank you, Riley, for joining us here. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
Yeah, of course. First off, thank you so much for having me. My name is Riley. I come from the United States, Missouri specifically. And right now I'm about to start studying computer science at IU Bad Honnef.
Okay, and could you tell us about your journey from America to Germany, especially for studying?
Yeah, of course. It all kind of started when I was in the middle of high school. My mom had decided that she wanted to bring on an exchange student, and he happened to just be from Germany. He's from Bavaria. And as soon as I met him, it was like meeting a brother almost. So because of the time I spent with him, I was like, okay, I need to go to Europe. I need to see what it's all about, because after a while, America gets a bit boring. But in my senior year of high school, I finally decided that I wanted to go study overseas, and it was definitely a challenge. Making the decision to leave my really small town and travel halfway across the world. But I've enjoyed every second of it thus far.
Okay, wonderful. So first, we start with the Colleen questionnaire, what we call on our podcast, where we discuss about the professional and academic life and some cultural questions. We start with Riley with question number 1 being, what inspired you to choose Germany for your studies? Like basically, people usually feel the America is the ideal destination for study, and you, against all the winds, you chose Germany to come here and study.
Yeah. I don't know, like growing up in America and knowing from birth that going to college was so expensive, it just kind of slowly deterred me away. And when I learned that I could come to Germany specifically, and come to an international university and get to meet so many people while studying in English, it was just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. I felt that if I turned it down, I'd regret it later on. Back home, it's much more hands-on. So the teacher would walk you through every single problem, and if you had a question, she would come directly to you and give you time. But what I found in university, at least, is that it's much more. Here's the coursework. If you need help, come to me. I might not have the time. But the biggest change has just been the different learning styles. Like here, it's much more hands-off. Like they give you the material and expect you to do most of the studying yourself. It was definitely much more, I guess you could say, hand-holding in America.
Okay.
But it's definitely been a worthwhile challenge. I've learned to study in new ways and adapt.
Oh, that's interesting. So how would you compare the academic culture between the two countries?
In America, it's much more laid back. Like you don't have to have the best grades to get into the best school always. Sadly, a lot of the time it comes down to if you can pay the price tag. But here it definitely seems much more strict, and it is much more strict with both attendance and grades.
Okay, so on an individual level, you prefer the price tag system that you just mentioned, or the ever efficient, the grading system that you just said?
I much more prefer the German system because it actually makes me work for it,
Okay. All right. So were there any notable differences in teaching styles or approaches that you encountered here in Germany that were completely different from what you had back home?
Nothing terribly different. I guess the first one that comes to mind is in math, at least in America, we use commas and periods opposite as far as numbers are concerned. So I had to get used to seeing 1.000 as 1,000 instead of 1 comma 3 zeros. But no, the teaching style here has done me well thus far, I think, and I prefer it.
All right. And for our audience, you did the visa procedure and everything on your own, or did you hire an educational agent to proceed the application with?
I did it by myself. I had some help with my family because I hadn't a clue what to do. But no, I didn't go through an agency.
Okay. And what would you say was the biggest obstacle that you faced while doing the entire process on your own, or like the visa issue or the application procedure?
The hardest issue was getting my grades to transfer. The scores that I got on tests in my high school, they didn't, at first at least, they didn't directly translate over here. So that was kind of hard. But the visa process for me was essentially just go get a passport and then tell the government that I'm going to go study abroad. And that was about it. It was fairly simple. It took me maybe 4 months.
Okay. All right. So, in terms of professional opportunities, how does Germany compare to America for someone in your field of study?
I think over in Europe, there's definitely more opportunities for those who want to work in tech. And I think my dream would be that I want to be able to work almost remote entirely, so be able to work and travel at the same time. So I feel that going to an international university could definitely get my name in different places. And I hope that get my name a wider reach,
Okay.
if I were to just stay in small town America.
All right. But again, circling back, was your decision to come to Germany solely based on a person that was living with you? Or was it certainly that you had in mind that among entire Europe, you chose Germany as, the prime destination for yourself?
It definitely was swayed a bit because I was really good friends with him. But I also found that Germany is just very welcoming to foreigners. From the few times that I'd come before I moved here, and I had already learned a little bit of German beforehand, so I was like, there's no point in learning Spanish or French. I might as well just continue.
Okay. All right. You just mentioned a very interesting fact about language. Did you face any language barriers when you came here, or during your academic journey in Germany?
Yeah, of course. It was very nerve-wracking at first, even going to get groceries, because I didn't even know how to say thank you or anything like that. But living in a culture and living in the language, you pick it up very quickly.
That's wonderful. The thing is, now I'm very tempted to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, what would you say are your German speaking skills?
Oh, that's I'd say maybe a 6, maybe a 6.5, almost a 7.
That's impressive. So maybe you can converse in our daily life in German completely.
Yeah. If I went to a bar, I think I could strike up a conversation. Might only be a few sentences, but
That's impressive. But what would you say to our audience? How important it is to learn German if you're planning to come to Germany here?
it's very important. Besides the friends that you're going to make at your university, whether you're speaking English or what, but being able to converse with actual people who live here, it gives you a different perspective, and it also you gain almost like an unwritten or unspoken respect from them, I'd say. Since I've been able to actually talk to Germans, they've definitely treated me much better than when I had to be like, oh, ich verstehe es nicht, no English, I don't understand, only English. But the first couple months are definitely the hardest because there's so many words, so many different whatever. But over time, it gets easier if you just commit to it and stick to it.
Okay. And how did you adapt the cultural differences over here in Germany? What were the striking changes that you faced when you just came to Germany for the first time, or when you started living here?
So I grew up in a very small town, so I never in my life had even used public transportation. So that was a big change for me. And I'd never. Germans are very, very good about being on time. So I prefer that. So that was one thing that I definitely enjoyed. The food is not always the best, but
Okay.
luckily there's plenty of it around. Um, and I guess I could say the curfew of not being able to be too loud past 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I've definitely had times where I've had friends over and we've been playing music and one of my neighbors complained, but few and far between.
All right. But straight up right now, what advice would you give to someone considering studying abroad in Germany right now? And if they are listening or viewing our podcast?
I would totally recommend it if you do the research and you feel that Germany is a place that you'll enjoy. I've definitely found that I enjoyed here. It takes some getting used to. It's not for everybody. I have friends from so many different cultures, and some of them love it. Some of them absolutely despise it. But I think if you want to travel to experience new things, you definitely should. There's no reason you shouldn't.
Traveling is definitely fun for everyone. Since you're in Europe, how many countries in nearby Germany or within the Germany, how many cities have you been to so far?
I've been to Frankfurt, Dresden, Berlin, Stuttgart. I went to Belgium one time for a weekend. I've been to Amsterdam several times. And I went to Lake Como in Italy with my friends last summer. That was amazing.
That's impressive. So, what would you say is like the striking feature that you absolutely love about Europe that you just cannot get in America?
Uh, for me, it's like back home. I never really, I never felt terribly safe at night because there's so many different issues in America with guns.
Mhm.
But here, I felt that it's a very safe place. It's very quiet at night. I've never felt endangered or in danger, I should say.
Mhm.
And yes, there are some times where there are some Germans who are just outright rude, but the majority of them are very welcoming and they're nice people.
Okay, that's quite a stereotype, by the way, that people think that the German people are rude. What would you say about this myth that people circulated around?
It's definitely it's a stereotype for a reason,
Mhm.
You'll definitely within the first couple weeks of being here, you'll notice that on the buses or even on the streets, people will stare at you, and even if you look at them, they're not going to look away just because they like staring, I guess. Um, but I never felt unsafe.
That's good. That's impressive. And lastly, for this questionnaire, how has your experience in Germany influenced your career aspirations or goals?
It's given me a much broader perspective of the world. So it's allowed me to see other experiences from other people from different cultures and see how their world works, how they view it. So it's given me a lot of perspective on what I could do in my professional career.
That's quite impressive. So, this brings us to the end of the first questionnaire. But before we move on to the next questionnaire, I would love to play a short rapid fire game with you, Riley.
Okay.
It's time for a quick rapid fire round, and I'll give you two options, and you have to choose which one do you prefer based on your experiences in America and Germany. Are you ready?
Perfect. Let's go.
All right. So, starting off with New York City or Berlin?
Oh, New York.
Okay. American football or foosball?
Fußball.
Okay. Thanksgiving dinner or Oktoberfest?
I gotta go with Thanksgiving.
Highways in America or notoriously famous Autobahn?
The Autobahn.
Okay. American fast food or the German cuisine?
American fast food.
Hollywood movies or the European theater?
Hollywood.
All right. 4th of July fireworks or New Year's Eve fireworks in Berlin?
4th of July.
All right. Now, the next one is quite obvious, but still, I'm going to ask you Times Square or Brandenburg Gate?
Times Square, I think.
All right. Baseball game or a Bundesliga match?
Bundesliga match.
American college parties or German beer festivals?
German beer festivals.
Okay, that's quite an impressive rapid fire round with you, Riley. And I'm very much impressed with the answers that you have given. So now we'll move on to the next questionnaire in our series of questionnaires, where we discuss about the social life, dating, and living in Germany questions. So, Riley, how did you navigate socializing and making friends in a new country like Germany, where people are very rigid, I'd say, while making new friends? How did you adapt to this cultural environment?
Yeah, it was definitely very nerve-wracking at first, because I didn't speak enough of the language. I was very nervous to approach anyone to try and make friends. But as my language skills have gotten better, I've definitely, come out of my shell a bit more with the locals. Luckily, because of, the international university, I found a group of friends almost day one. And that was amazing because we got to go through the whole process together, whether it be city registration or stuff with banking. It was nice to have a group of people who knew what you were going through as well,
Mm-hmm. And based on your experience, what is the dating scene like here in Germany compared to America?
In America, it's definitely more casual. Like there wasn't as much formality. From what I've seen with my friends, it's definitely more date orientated here. And from what I've seen, it's typically German with German, but it's not, uncommon to have German with international or international with international.
Would you like to share any interesting experiences about the German culture outside the study world here that you have been facing?
Yeah, I within the last couple of months, I worked as a steward for a company that works for. They set up events and what such, and being able to work in the language and work firsthand with the locals has really been impactful. So I recommend anyone who wants to come here and wants to participate in the lifestyle, they should definitely try to get a job as soon as possible, because the more you practice German, the more it's going to feel like second nature to speak it,
Okay. And speaking of work, how is the work-life balance here in Germany compared to America?
It's about the same, I'd say, honestly. When I was in high school, I was working about the same hours. But here there's a bit more flexibility because I don't have to go to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. But I haven't found it terribly difficult to unless I worked 4 or 5 days in a row. I didn't find it terribly difficult to find time for work and study.
Okay. And what are some aspects of German daily life that pleasantly surprised you so much that you would consider thinking and integrating it into the American system?
It would have to be the public transportation. I as much as everyone complains about Deutsche Bahn being down and off time, they are very efficient when they work, and it's something that America needs a million of, because it's such a big country. Everything's so far away. Like when I travel back home, I have to drive 3 hours from the airport. It takes a while to get everywhere. So I definitely think that if we could implement that, it'd be a lot easier.
Okay. On the other hand, what are some aspects of the American culture that you would love to integrate in the German system?
Almost none, I'll be honest.
Oh, that's impressive. So
Yeah.
you're all for Germany.
Yeah, I much prefer Europe and Germany to America.
That's quite an interesting fact here. And what's your favorite thing about living in Germany?
Just the fact that other countries are so close and that there's so much culture and rich history all around you. Like even where I live now, if I wanted to go see a castle, I could walk 30 minutes. If I wanted to see another castle, I could walk 40. If I wanted to see, the old part of Cologne, that's beautiful. There's just so much history and so much architecture that I really enjoy.
Have you faced any homesickness or moments of longing for American culture while living in Germany?
Of course, yeah. The first couple months were definitely the hardest. Realizing that it was just me, but after a while it was almost freeing to say that it's just me, because it's I'm in control of what I do and I'm in control of my future. But yeah, there are definitely times where I miss home and I miss there's sometimes where I miss the portion sizes because in Europe they're much smaller. But I've grown to love it here.
Okay, speaking of the living here, I would also like to ask you, for an American who is listening or viewing our podcast, what would you say is the monthly expense that they should keep in mind here while living here in Germany per month?
So when it comes to housing, obviously the first one, you're going to be looking between 300 to 600 for per month. If you're able to, anyone listening out there, I fully recommend getting a WG. It's a shared apartment. I have one right now, and it's really nice because I moved in with a couple of Germans, so I kind of got to speak firsthand with them and get some experience. But like let's say you pay $450 a month for rent. On top of that, you're going to have to pay $120 as just like a flat rate for insurance. And on top of that, I typically do about 150 euros of groceries a month. But I eat a lot, so. But I think beyond the rent and the insurance, I think my monthly total right now is roughly around 850.
Okay, so standard for an American, I would say that around, for a safer side, including everything, we would say around 950 euros.
Yeah, to be safe.
Okay, all right. So 950 euros it is per month if you're planning to move here in Germany. It's a 1 month expense. All right. And lastly, how do you see your future in Germany? Do you plan to stay long term or return to America eventually?
I think past bachelor's, I think I'm going to stay in Germany for my master's. So that'll be at least another 5 or 6 years. But after that, I think I'm going to move elsewhere in the world. I don't plan to go back to America unless to see family. I'm quite interested in going to. I'd love to go to Australia. Place seems amazing. So perhaps there, but I haven't really decided yet. It's so far down the line.
Okay, that's impressive. And before we wrap up for this episode, for our audience, what is the one piece of advice or tip that you think would be extremely valuable for them if they are listening and they are from America and they are planning to come to Germany to study or live here or work here and make their career? What would you say them so that they can feel that American bond in your voice?
I would say that if you're genuinely curious about learning about different cultures and exploring the world, you should, without a doubt. Because, like I said, I was in a very small town, and I had many people tell me that I was insane for traveling halfway across the world. And there have definitely been times where me telling people that I'm an American, they've definitely had a stigma around it. But if you're just a good person, your nationality is only so much. And I think with the state that America's in right now, I think that it's almost safer to come to Europe.
All right. Thank you so much, Riley, for sharing your insightful journey with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Global Citizen Diaries. Make sure to subscribe for more fascinating conversations with cross-cultural experiences. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you're on Spotify, follow and download the episode as well. If you have questions for Riley, drop them down in the comments. And until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world. This is Om signing off. Thank you.